Mr. Speaker, as the world prepares to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and this afternoon we welcome the Irish Prime Minister, the Taoiseach, into Kinney, here to the Capitol, I want to pause for a moment to recognize the anniversary of a pivotal event in the peace process in the north of Ireland. 20 years ago, against the advice of his own State Department, President Bill Clinton granted a visa to the leader of Sinn Féin and its president, Gerry Adams, to visit the United States. It was at the time an unpopular decision, but history has proven it to be a catalyst for the peace process, which again has proved to be most durable. It helped to bring an end to the longest-standing political dispute in the history of the Western world. Simply put, Bill Clinton took an extraordinary risk that has paid huge dividends. I was one of a handful of members of Congress at the time who urged President Clinton to approve the visa. When Gerry Adams arrived in the United States after stopping in Boston, he made his way to my hometown of Springfield, Massachusetts, and addressed a core group of thousands at the John Boyle O'Reilly Club, and he thanked them for their support. During his campaign for president, we had urged then-candidate Clinton to make peace in the island of Ireland a top foreign policy priority if he was to be elected. After his inauguration, to our great and pleasant surprise, he sent his national security advisor at the time, Tony Lake, to Capitol Hill to tell us that they were to elevate Ireland in the same category of priority as the Middle East. A year later, on January 31st of 1994, the visa was issued to Gerry Adams, and the American dimension to the Irish peace process was born. 14 years later, the Good Friday Agreement was signed, and society in the north of Ireland was transformed overnight. On the night that Mr. Clinton offered that visa, it was one of the more memorable events in my career. I defended the Clinton administration that night on the BBC's Newsnight Hour, which would be the equivalent of Nightline here in America. I debated the leader of the UUP, Ken McGuinness. Later today, I am hosting a briefing with Gerry Adams and the Congressional Friends of Ireland, and I urge our friends to visit with him if they can, and later on to meet the Irish Prime Minister at 3:30 this afternoon. When we contrast where America and Ireland were in this special relationship that dates to 3 centuries, it's important to recall what it looked like in the north of Ireland but 30 years ago. There were 30,000 British soldiers in an area the size of the state of Connecticut. There was a police force that held the position that nationalists need not apply, the Royal Ulster Constabulary. The British soldiers are gone, and the Royal Ulster Constabulary are gone today. The watchtowers that monitor the activities largely of the nationalist community have been taken down, and you can cross from Derry to Donegal without knowing that you've moved from the north of Ireland to the Republic of Ireland, or through Newry and County Down as well, without being stopped, searched, and in some instances being frisked by British soldiers. America's role in bringing about this success story provides an argument for the reach and the role of the United States in addressing some of the most difficult issues in the world. Ireland represented the longest-standing political dispute in the history of the Western world, and America's role was pivotal to helping make that change. That model has become today something that can be emulated worldwide, and in fact the people who participated travel the world to talk about how they found a common ground and a path forward. There is a representative democracy in Belfast today, in what is known as Stormont, where parties sit some days in disagreement and other days in agreement, but always with the idea that they are in charge of their own destiny and their own future. That's the genius of representative democracy. I call attention to this issue today because of many of the stubborn problems that plague the world, with the understanding that men and women of goodwill in the crucible of politics can indeed chart a path forward, and not to miss the fact that it was still the risk-taking of the Clinton administration that took up the notion that the nationalist voice on the island of Ireland and in the north of Ireland in 6 small counties should be heard, and today the result is all around us. So as the political parties visit on the eve of St. Patrick's Day all across the island of Ireland, we can satisfy ourselves with this achievement. The notion, once again, that goodwill and understanding the other side's arguments can in fact be heralded in the sense of achievement, but also, again, in the Stormont government that has been duly elected. So today we in America can take great satisfaction as to the role our men and women played in bringing about this success story, and also to recognize something on a personal basis. I and many others here were allowed to participate in all of these it can never happen moments. Thanks, America, for help once again in leading the way.